Hi everyone, my name is Siobhan Wallace and I'm a Senior Programme Support and Development Officer at Lergus, working with Cooperation Partnership projects under the Erasmus Plus programme. This presentation is aimed at projects who are hoping to submit an application for funding under KA2 Partnerships for Cooperation and is relevant for those submitting either under cooperation partnerships or small-scale partnerships. So the aims of this presentation are to bring your attention to the key priorities and policies you should be aware of when putting together your application. It will highlight the importance of priorities and why they should be one of the first things to consider when submitting an application. It will also explain the different types of priorities and sectors within the programme and show you how to link your application to the programme priorities to ensure that it is relevant. So let me start by telling you that priorities are really important. They're the first question you're asked in your application, so it's really essential that you get your application off to a good start by choosing the correct priority and explaining why you have chosen this priority. From an assessor's point of view, if the proposal does not provide convincing evidence that it is relevant to at least one priority, they must score as weak the award criterion relevance of the project, and then the whole project must be rejected. So you can see why it's important to get it right. So why has the European Commission placed so much emphasis on this aspect of your application? Well, by setting specific priorities for the Erasmus Plus programme, it helps to link European policy and overall objectives to the programme objectives. This in turn will help the programme to achieve its objectives and ensure that the results and outcomes of projects are addressing those key areas of European policy. So let's take a look at the objectives of the Erasmus Plus programme. The main objective is to support educational, professional and personal development, and it does this through learning mobility, cooperation among organisations, encouraging creativity and innovation when working together transnationally, and promoting excellence and quality in education and training systems across Europe and in the field of youth. You can read further information on the programme objectives and priorities in the Erasmus Plus programme guide, which you can access using this link. Now let's take a closer look at understanding the Partnerships for Cooperation action under Erasmus+. These projects allow organisations from across Europe to form cross-border partnerships and work together to address specific challenges or needs, or simply exchange ideas or good practice on a particular theme or topic. A key characteristic of these type of projects is that they are linked to one or more European policy priorities, which are based on the project's objectives and their common needs and expertise. So what sort of priorities are we referring to? Well, the programme has selected a number of priorities which are relevant across all sectors of the programme, and these are known as horizontal priorities. In addition, the programme has highlighted a large number of specific priorities for each sector. We will take a closer look at sectors later in the presentation. When you submit your application, you are asked to choose at least one priority from either the list of horizontal priorities or the list of sector-specific priorities. It is important to say that while projects need to choose at least one priority from any of the two categories, they can also choose more than one if several priorities are impacted within one proposal. So, as you can see, there are 4 horizontal priorities for the Partnerships for Cooperation action, and these are reflective of the overarching priorities of the Erasmus Plus programme. They are inclusion and diversity in all fields of education, training, youth and sport, addressing digital transformation through development of digital readiness, resilience and capacity, environment and fight against climate change, and common values, civic engagement and participation. We'll take a closer look at each of these in turn and also relevant policies that are linked to these priorities. But before we do, it is important to highlight that in order to correctly understand these priorities, whether it be a horizontal priority or a sector-specific priority, it is important not to just look at the title of the priority. You need to dig deeper into the objectives of each priority to ensure that your idea is in line with the programme aims for the priorities, and not simply your understanding of, example, digital transformation or active engagement. The first horizontal priority targets inclusion and diversity, such as improving outreach to people with fewer opportunities, addressing barriers and providing help with programme participation, as well as contributing to creating inclusive environments that foster equity and equality. You can also see some links here to some of the key policies in this area, such as the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. And you should also be aware that the Commission has recently developed an inclusion and diversity strategy for the programme. So even if you're not submitting your application under this priority, it is recommended to read the strategy, as all projects are expected to include inclusive activities, and this will give you some ideas on how to go about this. The next horizontal priority concerns addressing digital transformation through development of digital readiness, resilience, and capacity. Key objectives of this priority are to help organisations manage the shift towards digital education, development of digital pedagogy and expertise in the use of digital tools for teachers, including accessible and assistive technologies, and the creation and innovative use of digital education content. It also includes developing the digital skills and competencies of all the population through appropriate programmes and initiatives. The European Commission has developed a number of competency frameworks in recent years to help promote a common focus and understanding of the important skills and competencies that are required in particular sectors. And there are a number of frameworks focusing on digital skills, some of them highlighted here. If you are planning to submit a project under this priority, then it is recommended that you refer to the relevant framework and build it into the objectives and outcomes of your project. The third horizontal priority targets the environment and fight against climate change. Key objectives of this priority are the development of competencies in sustainability, relevant sectors, and also development of sustainability competencies across all sectors. To help with this, the Commission has developed a new sustainability competency framework called Green Comp. And if you are linking your project to this priority, it is strongly recommended that you refer to this framework and integrate aspects of it into your project. Other objectives of this priority focus on enabling change, whether that be individual habits or lifestyles, or helping people to become agents of change within their organisations. The last horizontal priority concerns civic engagement and participation. This priority promotes active citizenship, but also fosters the development of social and intercultural competencies and raising awareness of EU values such as unity and diversity, cultural identity, and awareness of social and historical heritage. In addition to the policy areas linked to the specific horizontal priorities, you should also be aware of general European education and training youth policy when considering how your project is relevant to the overall aims of the programme. I've highlighted some of the main policies in recent years above. However, this isn't an exhaustive list, but it's a good starting point, and many of the programme objectives are based on aspects of these policies. So up until now, we have focused on horizontal priorities. However, remember that projects can select either a horizontal or a sector-specific priority. So now we'll take a brief look at the different sectors covered by the programme and their priorities. As you can see, partnerships for cooperation projects can be submitted under one of 5 sectors. These are school education, for organisations involved in all levels of school education from preschool to upper secondary, vocational education and training, covering both initial and continuing VET, with a focus on developing skills and competencies for particular occupations or more generally in working life. Adult education, focusing on non-vocational upskilling for adults, such as basic literacy, numeracy and digital skills, as well as wider societal skills. Higher education, focusing on all aspects of third level education, and youth, focusing on non-formal and informal learning for young people and youth workers. All partnerships for cooperation projects, whether cooperation partnerships or small-scale partnerships, must apply under a specific sector. And it's important that even if you're choosing a horizontal priority, that the priority is relevant to the sector you have chosen, and your application should clearly show the impact in the field or sector under which you have chosen to submit your application. So now that we have learned about the different priorities and sectors, I would like to explain how you should ensure that your application is linked to one or more of the programme priorities. The key to this is to first of all understand and clarify the main objective of your project. Projects can have several objectives, but it's important to identify your main objective before you can select your priority. You also need a clear understanding of who the target group are for your project, so that you can correctly identify the sector under which you wish to submit your application. When that is clear, you can then refer to the priorities in the programme guide and carefully read and understand the specific objectives of each priority before you select the one which is most relevant. You can then decide if there are any additional priorities which may be relevant to your application and select these as secondary priorities. You can choose up to 2 more priorities. Here are some examples of recent projects that have been funded by us, and you can see how they are each linked to one of the main horizontal priorities of the programme. Each project objective is clearly stated so that it's easy to see how the objective relates to the priority. Finally, I'd like to finish by clearing up some common misconceptions you see when assessing applications in relation to the selection of priorities for projects. The main misconception is that the more priorities you choose, the better you will score. This is simply not true. You're only required to choose one priority, and it's better to have one very relevant priority than several priorities that are not relevant. The second misconception is that it's better to choose a sector-specific priority than a horizontal priority. Again, this isn't the case. You just need to ensure, however, that your horizontal priority is applied to the sector you have chosen. And finally, you don't need to choose both a horizontal and sector-specific priority, but you can do if they are relevant and can be clearly linked to your objectives. So that brings us to the end of the presentation. I hope you have a better understanding of the priorities and policies of the Erasmus Plus programme and how to link your project to them. If you have any questions on anything related to this presentation, please contact me or one of my colleagues using the email links above.